What's up, y'all? What's up? It's your girl Jice, and we're gonna talk about how America made you its biatch. I'm gonna wait a few seconds just so some folks come on in. But I'm gonna pretty much get started and put my phone up so I can see everything going on. But what's good, y'all? So I got something to talk about. I got a lot of things to talk about. There's been a lot of bullshit happening in the news, and it's one of the things that frustrate me. What's up, y'all? So, I'm taking a little bit of time. My kids are napping, so it's a good time for me to get in here and talk. Hey, everybody. So I'm about to just get into it because I don't know how long my kids are gonna nap. Let's start with that. But let's talk about how America is making us its bitch. Seriously. So here's the thing, right? A lot of the success of propaganda, in my opinion, has come around to the point where we believe um, in the one instead of the many. And so I want to kind of break that down and talk a little bit about how that is really hurting our community. As I welcome everybody on in, first of all, thank you for joining. I appreciate you coming on over here. If you are not subscribed, make sure that you hit subscribe. My name is Jice Johnson. For anyone who is joining us for the first time, joining me for the first time. So I appreciate that. And so make sure you hit that subscribe. And then I would love, please, I'm going to ask if you would share this out because I got something that I want to talk about, especially because there's a lot of things that have been going on and happening in the media. We have this college scandal. We have R. Kelly and Michael Jackson happening. We have this situation. There's this respectability politics. There's like a lot of stuff that's going on, and I want to kind of tie it all together and talk about why we're not really focusing in on the things that we should be focusing in on. So if you would hit that share for me, that would be great. If you would go ahead and and subscribe, that would also be great. So I talked about this before. I talked about the idea that propaganda has us believing in the one instead of the many. And there is something to understanding individualism. So, just as an example, when it comes to understanding individualism versus, say, collective thinking or a collective mindset, we have to understand that as a group, technically, we cannot think as a group, right? Like you cannot think for me, I cannot think for you, you cannot speak for me, I cannot speak for you. However, when we all come together and we are working towards a common agenda, then what could happen is that our thoughts and our ideas can begin to compound and work together. So one of the lies, in my opinion, of individualism is this idea that you need to be individualistic, you need to think for yourself, you need to think by yourself. And what happens is that the same way that we know diverse organizations thrive is because they bring in different ideologies and different experiences and different walks of life is similar to what has to happen inside of a group, right? So everyone has the same goals, everyone has a very similar set of goals or goals that are set in the same direction. But my experience as a single mom versus the experience of a mother who's married versus the experience of a mother with 5 kids versus the experience of a mother with 1 kid, all of those experiences come together and then we can create a dynamic environment for our children, right? Just using that as an example. So this idea that individualism is the best thing for us because this idea that you can't think for a group is really like how they started to skew this idea of individualism. And the thing is that propaganda has you believing that it's really all about you. I talked about some of that where there was this turn in how things were being presented where thinking for what was best for the group was highlighted, and then all of a sudden they started to change a lot of that messaging and had you thinking about what was best for you and not what was best for the group. And so then you start hearing things like it's all about me and I don't need any help. And some of the ways that they ended up promoting a lot of that was things like taking a whole lot of value in self-reliance. So then you hear people saying things like, well, I made it on my own and I did this by myself, and taking extreme pride in that versus acknowledging how beneficial it could be to do something or get someplace together. So this individualism, this type of thinking that we have, that it's all about us, in today's society really only benefits white males. At the end of the day, it really only benefits white men to have this version of individualism that is being promoted in across the media and being promoted over here in America. Everyone else, including white women, are thinking in groups. They are pushing agendas. Everyone else, including white women, are pushing agendas, except for Black folks. We're not pushing a collective agenda. We are jumping onto other agendas. So we're jumping onto LGBTQ, whatever other acronyms that they have. We're jumping onto that agenda. We're jumping onto the feminist agenda. We're jumping onto the Me Too agenda. And let's just be honest, it's been hijacked. So it doesn't matter where it started. Today it's been hijacked. And so we're jumping into that agenda. We're jumping into a lot of these agendas that are not about the collective benefit for Black America, right? ADOS, I don't even want to talk about ADOS as an agenda because it's such a new agenda that I think is important for us to break down what the ADOS agenda is and how that ties into the Black, like the Pan-African, Black agenda, right? Like understanding that we have Black folks who have been spread out all over this world that all come from the same place, that are all experiencing some levels or some, semblance of a similar type of oppression is important, but then also fighting for the freedoms that we have, or the reparations that are needed here in America on American soil for those of us who are descendants of slaves is also very important. So I feel like we'll get into a deeper topic about ADOS, but overall, what's happening is, actually, to that point though, ADOS is a movement to get us on a group thought process, right? It's saying, forget all this individualistic thinking. We have to think and leverage for ourselves as a group, which I believe is true. Because again, even white women are pushing their own agenda for their group. Even white women, they are like, so this individualistic type of thinking really only benefits white men, which ain't us. And so what happens is this is what I'm seeing, is that we're basically chasing our tails. Like they have us chasing our tails. Like we look stupid regularly. And it's really frustrating. And that's why I said, like, this is like America is making us their bitch. They are really having us literally chasing our tails. So let's talk about that, because I want to break down some of the recent events. I'm not going to get like super, super heavy into analyzing each event, but I just want to point out the conglomerate of bullshit that is coming at us and how I think that really, begins to affect us, right? And beginning to look at some of the ways that we are thinking and how we're not thinking. So let me give you an example. Let me tie in two things that's happening right now. And the response of the public is like baffling to me. So you have this Jussie Smollett thing, right? So this guy is being indicted for false police reports. So can we just talk about how many fucking white people make false police reports and are not arrested, indicted? They're nothing. Nothing happens to them. But what's more important is the Black community feeling like we should throw the full weight of the law against this guy. Now, let's take another case that's in the media, which is R. Kelly. And then you have Black people who are upset, saying that the white community, this is white supremacy, and they're punishing him. And so we feel like Jussie Smollett should go to jail for a false police report, and R. Kelly should be set free for molesting and raping and sexual assault and basically building a sex cult. That's how we feel. Because at the end of the day, white media is exploiting both cases. Let's just call it what it is. But we're gonna get into that. But I just want to understand. So we feel like Jice should go to jail, but R. Kelly should be free. Somebody help me out. Jice should go to jail. R. Kelly should be free. I'm just help me understand. We've known for a long time R. Kelly has been doing the bullshit. We just might not have known how deep it really went. But have we not known for a long time that R. Kelly has been doing some bullshit? So why should Jice be going to jail for a false police report, for wasting police dollars on investigations and making up some hate crime story, right? Why should he go to jail for that? Why do Black Americans feel like he should go to jail for that? And yet Black Americans also feel like R. Kelly should be left for the Black community to deal with. Now, I have not heard people say that R. Kelly shouldn't be held accountable, but somehow the Black community feels like we're equipped to handle R. Kelly. Are we not equipped to handle Jice? Because Jice sounds like a mental health issue. R. Kelly is also some sort of a mental health issue, but on a whole larger scale that our community is absolutely unequivocally not equipped to handle. If we were equipped to handle R. Kelly, he wouldn't have gone 20 plus years on this tirade that we have absolutely let him go on, myself included. I definitely bought TP2, definitely bought Chocolate Factory. I mean, I bought it, listened to it, jammed to it, the whole nine, right? So we have all let him go on this tirade, but we feel like Jice should go to jail. I'm just like mind blown. Help me understand. Help me understand. America is making us their bitch because this is ass backwards. Ass backwards, right? And then let's also understand, because I haven't spoken on the R. Kelly. I actually, y'all, I'm gonna just give y'all the truth. I'm not a commentator, okay? I'm a teacher. I'm an educator. That's what I do. I don't teach like in the school district. I teach my children. I teach my community. That's what I do. So really, if you follow me, you're going to get things on how to fix your credit, how to build intergenerational wealth, how to buy land, how to start your business, how to get into investments, how to get your money right, how to get your business right, how to start thinking intergenerationally, how to shift your mindset. That's what I talk about. So I don't give a lot of commentary. The reason why I'm talking about commentary or I'm giving commentary, and that's why I'm just kind of giving it in this like huge chunk of a bunch of nuggets, is because I am baffled by the way that we're chasing our tails right now. We're running around in circles. And so here's what I'm looking at, right? Let's also break this part down. Let's just, because now I'm going to talk about mindset. So let's break this down. First of all, the mindset around Jice and R. Kelly is, as you put, bass awkward, right? That shit is not right. But then let's break down this R. Kelly situation. Absolutely. R. Kelly being used as a face of white supremacy is a problem, right? Or white supremacy using R. Kelly is a problem. Here's the thing. White folks have not given a shit about R. Kelly and have never prosecuted R. Kelly, because as long as his victims was Black girls, then it didn't matter. Black women, Black girls are the least protected people on this planet. We are. And I'm not saying that my Black men are not also persecuted, but let's just say Black women are the least protected on the planet. So now I absolutely agree that white media is using R. Kelly's face, along with Bill Cosby, along with Michael Jackson, along with Jussie Smollett, along with all these Black men, and pushing this propaganda, right? This is what they're doing. I agree that they are doing this, but let's just keep it real. First of all, we can acknowledge white media, and that's one issue, right? Because here's my thing that I feel like we try to silver bullet issues in the Black community. We try and straight shot an issue. R. Kelly is not a straight shot issue. It is so many issues that are jumbled. It's a fucking jumbled mess with R. Kelly. Let's talk about this. One is white media's use of Black men to push an agenda. So that does need to be addressed. That is what is happening to R. Kelly. His face, Black faces, Black male faces are being used to push a sexual assault, a predatorial assault, a pedophilic assault, if that's even a word, a pedophile assault, on into the media. That is unequivocally what is happening. However, R. Kelly is guilty. It doesn't matter if you think that there are women who are old enough to leave the facility. It doesn't matter if you think that there are parents who are involved who sold their kid. None of that matters. R. Kelly is guilty. Okay? Okay. All right. So then let's also acknowledge that there is a cycle of abuse. This is cyclical. R. Kelly is the fucking monster that he is today because he was abused and no one gave a shit. Can we talk about that? I'm not trying to make him out to be a victim, but let's acknowledge at one point he absolutely was a victim. Matter of fact, most people who are sexual deviants and commit these types of acts are victims of abuse and nobody helped to heal them. So let's also acknowledge that because that's another issue. Again, no silver bullet, no straight shot. That's not what this is. R. Kelly is a victim of sexual assault himself and has then turned into a monster of sexual assault. And because no one gave a shit about that little boy who was injured, he has turned into a monster who has injured possibly hundreds of young women over decades, right? So can we talk about that? Then can we talk about women's roles in abuse? Can we talk about women's roles in abuse? And understand that, again, abuse is a cyclical situation because a lot of times who is abusing our young boys, it's not always men. Women are abusing our young boys. I find it interesting. I lost a friend recently, a friend of like 11 years, who for some godforsaken reason, and I've probably mentioned this before, but this is how much it hurts me because I love her dearly. And she, for the abuse that she suffered and faced as a child, for whatever reason, she felt like I was bringing my children around, as she calls it, random men. Okay, I am a single mom. I am a entrepreneur. And so I homeschool my kids. So it's not like my kids are in school or daycare and then I go and do meetings. So there are times that I will go and do a meeting and have my kids. I travel with my kids, all those things. And in her mind, because I was traveling or doing business with men, she felt like I was putting my kids in danger. And what I had to tell her was, sis, I'm going to watch my kids around men and women because women are just as sick. Who is fucking little kids in school? Women. What babysitters is over here causing your sons to lose their virginity? Women. But we don't want to have that conversation. So what R. Kelly has also done is he's created an entire cult of women who have been sexually abused. Women who you would hire as babysitters for your sons. And again, the cycle continues. But we don't want to talk about that. Then can we talk about how our community is just not ready to police itself? I'm not saying we don't have the tools and the skills to do so, but not at this stage of the game, because you don't even want to call out your uncle, your neighbor's friend, your dad for the abuse that they're putting or promoting inside of our own families. So our young girls and our young boys are being abused inside of our own homes, and you're not ready to have that conversation, but yet you feel like we can police ourselves. So R. Kelly should not go to jail. Instead, he should be turned back over to the Black community and we should handle him. How, Sway? What are we going to do with R. Kelly? What are we going to do with him? We have nowhere to put him, nowhere to lock him up. We have no way to, we don't own none of his music. We don't own the companies that own his music. We have no way to get it off the shelves. We have no way to pull his wealth. What exactly is it that we're going to do? I believe that we can do some level of policing. I believe that we can do high levels of policing a lot of the issues in our own community when we are proactive. At this stage of the game, we are not prepared to take on any type of damage control over what R. Kelly has done. He needs to be turned over to the white supremacists who created that mess. And I don't even like using white supremacy or white supremacists. So going forward, I will be calling them violent white racists. Okay, my friend made that term, or I was introduced to it through him, because they're not fucking supreme. They're violent and they're racist. That's what the problem is. So violent white racists, I don't call them white supremacists. But We're not in a position to do that. And then can we start talking about the victims? Y'all worried about white media using R. Kelly's face, and I agree that's an issue. But a bigger issue is we talk about Black women being the least protected on this planet, or Black women. Even if you don't believe that we're the least protected, I think we can all acknowledge that Black women are not protected. So then, what about the victims? What about R. Kelly's victims? Even if they're grown, can we all acknowledge if you've been sexually assaulted or sexually abused and as a child and you're grown, can you not acknowledge like some of the ways that maybe you have been affected by that? Can we acknowledge the victims and what we need to do to help the victims? So the idea that we have Black folks in our communities with large platforms talking about problems around his interviews and problems with white media and problems with white supremacy using R. Kelly, those are not the problems. We're not talking about cyclical abuse. We're not talking about women's roles in abuse. We're not talking about our inability to actually police our community at this point in time. We're not talking about the victims. So our mindsets are wrong or are off or are something, because what those same people are talking is how Jussie Smollett needs to go to jail. God help us. So let's keep going, because there's a lot of shit that's been going on, y'all. So then the white media is a problem. The white media is a problem. And the number one problem that's happening with the white media is that in this instance, just like I was just saying with Jussie and R. Kelly, we have let the white media tell us who our enemies are. Assata Shakur says, never let your enemies choose your enemies for you. Why is it that we are determining who our enemies are based on what white media is giving to us, is feeding to us? Where are our media outlets? Where are our journalists? Where are our investigators that are going in and digging in and finding out the truth or unearthing information that is pertinent to us and our fight? Because we're letting our enemies choose our enemies. Assata said this years ago, never do that. So we're headed down the wrong path by allowing that to happen. Let's talk about this feminist thing, right? Because now if we want to start getting over into this school scandal, oh my God, there is a lot to unpack in this school scandal. There is so much to unpack in this. This school scandal could be like an hour-long thing by in and of itself, right? I can't even begin to get into that. But here's one thing that I want to acknowledge in this school scandal. I started off by talking about, because remember, what we're talking about here is the fact that Black folks are thinking about individualism and not thinking collectively. Everyone else is thinking collectively except white men. And even they're thinking collectively to a certain extent, but they're promoting the message of individualism. But even white women are thinking collectively. The thing about white women is they already got the pie. They share it with white men. Their fight is that they don't want to share it. They want ownership of the pie. They want control of the pie. We over here getting crumbs, but we're fighting for their pie, for them, because we ain't getting a piece of that pie. If you look at this school scandal on our best day, just by breaking down Black wealth, we could not afford to do what these white women have done for their children. They are not playing games, y'all. They are paying bucos dollars to put their kids in certain positions. This girl's daughter is over here hanging out on the yacht with the administrators from the school. So basically, they're just putting their kids in these positions to get ahead. Black folks don't even want to give their kids life insurance. Let's just marinate on that for a second. You don't have a fucking life insurance policy to help your kids get ahead. These kids don't even want to go to college. They don't need to go to college. This is a power play for them to beef up and boost up their resume. Their parents are paying for them to play in the big leagues with the big names. Go and mingle and get to know so-and-so's kids. Go and mingle and get invited to so-and-so's house. Go hang out on the yacht with so-and-so. And what makes it even worse is some of these folks are the face of good business. But y'all don't want to have life insurance policies on your kids or yourself to help your kids. Again, mind blown. They literally have us chasing our tails. This situation, I've been following this situation. I don't even have that much to say on it because it's so early in the investigation. And if you don't know, like, just understand they stumbled upon this like crime ring, right? It wasn't even on purpose. They stumbled upon this crime ring looking for something else. And then they came across the fact that this was happening. This is not about affirmative action. Like, Black folks were not harmed in this happening because wasn't nobody Black about to be in on what they have hurt white kids. White parents are mad that their kids didn't get slots because other white kids paid to play. Now, there's a few little pieces out there talking about they changed ethnicities and this, that, or whatever. But by and large, what has happened is they've stolen slots from other white people. Meanwhile, those white folks are blaming you for the stolen slots, right? Oh, you got in here on affirmative action. My kid couldn't get in because of affirmative action. No, your kid didn't get in because Aunt Becky, stole your spot from you. If this was something, please believe the FBI gives zero fucks about Black folks. If this was an issue that was affecting Black people, if this was an issue that was truly about how Black kids were being denied admission into these schools because these white kids were taking the spots, we would never hear about this. This is an issue because white people, elite white people who did not know about this, are mad that their kids didn't get in, that their kids didn't have this opportunity afforded to them, that their kids who fucked up on the SATs, they didn't know about this ring, because if they knew, they would have paid for it as well. That's what they're mad about. They're mad about the fact that all this was going on. This is all white collar crime, and they're mad because white collar crime affects those rich folks. I'm not saying it doesn't come down and affect us in some kind of way, but this is by and large not an issue of the slots that didn't come to Black people because they wasn't coming to us. They wasn't never coming to us. That's not what this is about. So white folks is mad about white folks. And this is what I'm saying. They are out here playing group economics. That's what they're doing. They spread their money all around. Listen, I'm going to pay you. You going to get a little bit of cut of this. You going to get a little bit of cut of that. You going to get a little bit of cut of this. We going to get your kid in here. Your kid gets to mingle so you can set your kid up to do everything that needs to be said and done and keep your power going. That's what this is about. Right. She said she don't even care about school. Black women in particular are the highest obtaining degree earners currently. However, we're also the top defaulters on student loans. Now let's tie that back into how come you can't buy a house. And I'm not saying that everybody should own a house. I do believe ownership is very important, but let's address this. Most of our wealth is built inside of our primary residence. That's where the majority, even white Americans, what they get is they go and they get this house. How do they get this house? All types of ways. They have better loan options than we do, lower interest rates than we do, better options to programs than what we have. VA loans were offered to them before VA loans were offered to us, right? So they have all these ways that they got houses. The significant, like when we're looking at middle class, by and large, here's what they have. They have a couple life insurance policies. They have some 401ks. They got a little bit of stock, and they have equity inside their house. Home equity is one of the top ways that people are able to build wealth. Why? Because then what I can do is when it's time for me to go and start my business and I need to get $20,000 out so I can have all of my branding set up, I can have all of my partnerships set up, I can go and buy some equipment that I need, I can put a down payment on the equipment, I can go and get all of my inventory, I'm going to get a line of credit and I'm going to take equity out of my house, and that's how I'm going to finance it. You can't do that shit. You don't even own a fucking home, and you're not going to own a home because you got that goddamn degree that you ain't about to do shit with, and now you got all them student loans. And what you didn't know was there was something called a debt to income ratio, and it doesn't matter if your loans are defaulted All of that is going to play a role. It doesn't matter even if you have the income-based repayment plan. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. What's going to matter is that those student loans, that $7, $8, $9, $1,000, that house note is going to count on top of your income or your debt, and your income to debt ratio is not going to be right in order for you to get a house. And I know it's not going to be right because your income is the lowest income in the country. Our lowest, we got the biggest gap. We're fighting the feminist fight because white women want to earn what their husbands are earning. All that shit is going into the same house. They just want to control it and own it. You're getting cut. You have the lower pay and the higher debt. So that's why you can't get an asset. That's why when it's time for you to start your business, you have nothing to pull from. That's why 95% of Black businesses is bootlegging it. What does that mean? Bootlegging it means you're trying to pull a little bit of here. I done saved up $200, $300 and I'm going to try and get my little business going. So you can only afford pop-up shops. You can only afford to have a little bit of products here and there. We go into a lot of service-based, low barrier to entry shit. We can't own brick and mortars. We can't get inside of a lease. None of that. You can't do none of that. But they got us chasing our tails because how much energy are we spending on what R. Kelly should be doing? That's a whole topic of conversation, right? So this is blown wide up because this affects white people. They're mad that this shit happened. This don't affect us. Well, it breaks out a case for reparations. It does lead out to opportunities. It blows a big ass hole in the idea that we should be pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps, right? This should tell us here's the biggest thing that we should get out of this scandal. We should think higher of ourselves. Because all day long, we compare ourselves to mediocre ass white people. They are so mediocre. They asses ain't passing SATs. They asses are not getting into college. You go to college and you got a stigma because they think you got in there by affirmative action. You need to look like, bitch, you got in here because your mama got money or your daddy got money. Ain't nobody running around in college because they brilliant. Matter of fact, we're running around in college because we're brilliant. They're running around in college because they got money. So if anything, this should just make us think the whole world of ourselves. We're the fucking bomb. So we got to start thinking collectively. This white crime ring was the collective thought. How can we help you help yourself and get paid while doing it? We gonna all just spread the money around. They're fighting for their power and control. They are fighting to maintain their power and control, and they're going to work together to do it. They are going to work together to cut you out, and they put their front on. It's interesting because there is a clip that recently resurfaced with Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin, and she said, "What does a man, how does she frame it? A man who sells his soul, what does he profit but the world?" And she said, the whole world, that's what he profits. I know I didn't say that exactly right, but she was like, the whole world. She said, you could take my soul, I profit the world. That's what they're doing. Some of these folks have been the face of good business, have been the face of equity. They have literally been saying, hand us the problem, we can fix the problem of equity. And at the same time, while they're over here shaking your hand, back here they stabbing you in the back. But what do they gain? They gain the whole world, right? They gain the whole world. So it's interesting to me because these white crime rings are about fighting for power and control. But here's the thing. When Ray come up to you and he wants you to put some trust in him and his business venture, you don't want to put your trust in him. You know who you put your trust in? You put your trust in these white folks every day. And don't try and tell me you don't. Yes, you do. Because you rather bank with Bank of America than One United Bank. You would rather go to Applebee's than you will want to go to the corner store, the corner restaurant that's out here that's Black owned. You want to go and shop at Walmart than you want to go and, down to the black market that's in your neighborhood where you got some black vendors that are populating together and trying to make something happen. You don't want to trust your kids to Umar Johnson's school. I know the school ain't been created, but you want to question Umar Johnson, but you send your kids into school every day. These same people who have already proven for 500 years they don't give a fuck about you. And they're willing to lie, cheat, steal, and pay their way to maintain their power and control. But you trust them. That's propaganda at its best. You don't trust you. You don't trust nobody who look like you. You worried about Ray Ray and your $20 over here, but yet you shell out hella money over there to them. They use their networks to elevate. We don't even want a network. We don't even want to let, if we've made it up a step, we ain't bringing nobody with us. They use their networks to elevate each other. That's what just happened. I got into this position. I can get your person to test out here. I can get these coaches over here to do this. I can get this done over here. I can get all these things done. You pay me, I'm gonna distribute. Everybody done got paid. Everybody done ate. Everybody ate. They use their networks to elevate their own status. Not us, though. We don't even network at all. And so I see these things pop up over and over again, and it's just baffling to me. So I don't know if y'all seen this guy who I don't even want to call him out, because I feel like his heart is in the right place. But now you got this guy coming out of Dallas, and I'm not Michi X's sister. Well, yeah, we gonna be sisters. That is my girl though, but I'm not her actual like blood sister. So I'm light skinned because I have Japanese somewhere down in my line. I got my grandfather is Japanese. She light skinned because she half white. But no, that's my girl. That's my girl. So respectability politics. Now you have this campaign that has gone around to like several cities in the country where this guy is like, yo, we need to dress in suits so we can show them that we're educated and we have great manners and, you know, we're not a threat to the police. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And then what's crazy is that you got people who are like, I like a man dressed in a suit. Well, so the fuck do I. But what does that have to do with respectability politics? The way that I like my man has nothing to do with how the police should view him. Whether he's in a suit or whether he's in a hoodie, we deserve respect because of who the fuck we are. Period. So I'm confused as to how we have this campaign in the midst of all of this. We have a campaign with somebody who's preaching respectability politics. Bruh, did you not do your homework? We've been lynched in suits. So how the white media has us chasing our tails like this, literally chasing our tails. We are literally going back to the respectability politics of the 60s. That's what we're doing. So in the midst of police killings and police brutalities, which have always happened but are now being highlighted, we're going back to respectability politics. Just help me understand. Help me understand. Help me understand. Meanwhile, we have the privatization of our schools, which is a really big deal that nobody is really talking about, not really talking about. And we have the wealth gap that is not even a gap. It's like a fucking chasm at this point. We have the Grand Canyon of a wealth gap and a credit gap. But what we're talking about is whether or not R. Kelly should be released to the public. And we're talking about how these white folks have gotten their kids in school. White folks been getting their kids in school. So what if they weren't getting them in school this way? They've been buying buildings and making donations and putting up monuments and statues and buying gymnasiums and buying the sports teams new equipment. They've been getting their kids in school with money. They've been getting their kids in school with money. You ain't know? They've been getting their kids in school money. This is an issue now because it affects white folks. They've been getting their kids in school with money. But we have the wealth gap widening by a lot. It is stagnant. It is stagnant. So it's very interesting to me as to where our focus is. So here's what I feel like. I feel like they got us chasing our tails. We're not organized, and we're getting divided on things that at the end of the day are not important. You have people who are having drag out fights over R. Kelly, but we're not addressing the wealth gap or school privatization, which is going to be a big deal, because if we think there's a preschool to prison pipeline now, they've already privatized the prisons. Now they're privatizing the school system. We don't see how that connects. No, of course not, because we worried about whether or not Jussie Smollett should be going to jail for a false police report. And we're out trying to fight the white women's movement. That's what's happening. So we're not able to keep the main thing the main thing. At the end of the day, y'all, we have to focus on our economic and our political power. And what is happening is our economic power is being ever weakened. And all of these other things that have us chasing our tails keep us divided, keep our attention unfocused. It doesn't allow us to really build and be collective. If anywhere that ADOS comes in, this is where ADOS comes in, to get on code and start thinking about what needs to happen for us to move forward collectively. The gaps have not moved. I take that back. The gaps have not closed in going on 3 decades. 3 decades, and all they're doing is getting wider. But we feel more and more comfortable because I can sit at the lunch counter with Becky. I don't give a fuck about sitting at the lunch counter with Becky. I don't care about sitting at the lunch counter with Becky. So we're not keeping the main thing the main thing. We have to get economically sound. We have to find our political voice. It's not in Kamala Harris. It's not in Cory Booker. It's really not in any of the politicians that are out there right now. It's not in AOC. She's really not. She has no idea about what it means to be Black in America. So I think that we have to stop chasing our tails, and we have to really ask ourselves how we have let our enemies pick and choose the issues that we fight, the things that we're going after, the things that we are putting our energy towards. Our enemies are choosing that. We're not choosing that. So if there's nothing else that I like about ADOS, and there's a lot that I like, don't get me wrong, like I feel like that's a whole nother conversation. There's a lot that I like about ADOS, but if there's nothing else that I like about ADOS, is it's saying to be proactive in setting an agenda and not reactive and going after all the different things that we see and all the different things that are happening to us. These things have been happening to us. Propaganda has been making Black faces the face of violence, of sexual assault, of robbery, of theft. This is why you trust them and you don't trust you, but they the ones who's been stabbing you in the back since we stepped on this soil. So we have to get back to really putting it in our minds that we are going to be committed to the work of working together. Yes, it is hard because you're broken, I'm broken. We all are fighting through our own different struggles. Like, I really believe that every single Black person in America should seek therapy. We have a lot of work to do. We cannot get focused on the right things. Our attention is so easily pulled, and we are allowing our enemy to pull the strings for us. And so, because we're not talking about a collective, united agenda, we are letting our enemy tell us what to think about and what to focus on. And what they have us doing is literally going around in circles. And in the process, we're breaking relationships, friendships, networks. All of those things are being broken up in order to disseminate our leverage and our power. So we can't let them do that to us. But it starts with understanding that it's even happening. Like, I'm literally breaking down things that are happening in current day media that is all bullshit, that really doesn't affect your day-to-day life. It really doesn't affect your day-to-day life. The type of mental conditioning is crazy. They have chess moved us 5, 6, 7 steps ahead, generations ahead. That is what they have done. And until we can recognize that, spread the word, spread the message, come back together and get on point. We got to stop thinking about all the areas we disagree on. If you think R. Kelly should be free and I think he should be in jail, I can still love you and we still got work to do. I'm going to think you a little sick that he should be free, but we still got work to do. So at the end of the day, we have to be able to start coming together. I make nothing but Black partnerships, y'all. Nothing but Black partnerships. I step out there sometimes not knowing how things are going to go. Right before I got on this live, I have some land down in Southern Colorado. I get on to talk to a guy about a ticketing platform. We end up having a whole conversation about how potentially we can partner for a business model that he has on some land that I have. We got to be able to begin to figure out how to work together, how to collaborate, how to undergird ourselves and strengthen our position, not weaken our position, not be so concerned about all the things that are going on that we feel like are social issues. So all the social justice fighters have a fucking seat, because we are in economic warfare, political warfare. Those two things go hand in hand. Those things solve social issues. The reason why you don't see a whole lot of Asians out here fighting for social justice issues, because they don't give a fuck, because they have their economic situation fairly under control. Asians are outproducing white people in median income. Not saying assets, but in median income, Asians are outproducing white folks. They got their economic situation in control. That's why I don't give a fuck. Asians don't care if you don't like them. They got their own communities to go to, their own housing situations to go to, their own businesses to go to. They're about their own work. They school their kids their own way. They got a whole situation happening inside of what's happening in the bigger situation, in the bigger economy of America. But we get caught up on all these social issues, and then we be caught up on the wrong issues. We need to put aside all of that around the social issues. My son is at the door. Excuse me. Hi. Hi. You want to say hello to everybody before we log off, since you have interrupted me? This is the young prince here. This is the young prince. You say hello? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, as a mom, I'm going to have to get back to doing what moms do. I appreciate everybody for joining me. I am Jice. I'm with the Black Business Initiative. Definitely make sure. Okay. At Grind with Jice. Oh, you want this one? All right. Grind with Jice, y'all. This is how I grind. So I will see y'all later. I appreciate everybody for joining in. Please share this information out. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button. This message I think it's important. I think we got to get on code. I think we got to get on agenda. And so, I'll try to go back in and reply to some things. But ultimately, y'all, we got to be able to set our own agendas and not let our enemies decide for us what we should be focused on and what we should be going after. So thank you for joining in. Until next time, peace.